Hey everybody, today I'm going to be telling some of your paranormal experience story submissions. First story comes from Nikki, located in Canada. My story takes place on a hiking trail in the middle of the woods. My father and I were walking along the usual trail when we came across what looked like an old foundation of buildings. We thought this was weird, and because we had hiked the same trail many times and never once had we come across this. As we were looking around, I noticed this really old-looking bottle laying on top of some leaves, as if someone had recently placed it there. I decided to take the bottle home as a souvenir of our cool findings, but I carefully wrapped the bottle in my sweater and placed it in my backpack where it was safe. Once I got home, I decided to take out the bottle to examine it. I carefully emptied out everything from my bag, only to realize the bottle was nowhere to be found. There were no holes in my bag. My sweater was all wrapped up nicely. The bottle had disappeared out of thin air. Later on, my dad and I tried to go back to the old foundations in the middle of the woods, and they were completely gone. We have no explanation for this. This next story comes from Cassandra, located in Montana. There are many sensitives in my family, and I definitely have experienced some things I cannot explain. For this story, I will note that for many years I have suffered from bad anxiety and depression. One evening after I had gone to bed, I woke up and was having a very bad anxiety attack. I just kept thinking how much I wish it would just stop and wish someone could help me. Right after that, I heard a female voice say, "Everything will be okay," and then felt someone rub my back. I jumped because I was home alone, and then I heard the voice say, "Oh, I'm sorry." I knew that they were just trying to comfort me, but it still startled me. I have heard voices before, but this was the first time I ever felt someone touch me. Not sure if it was a loved one or possibly a spirit guide, but I have felt better, knowing that I have someone watching out for me. This next story comes from Robert, located in Scotland. One night at dinner, my family and I somehow got on the topic of how we believed the house to be haunted, and here are experiences. A short time after we had renovated our attic into more bedrooms, my sister said she was home alone and was walking across the upstairs landing and looked down the staircase and saw an old woman looking up at her with a face that looked like she was screaming. She ran back into her room and called the police as she believed there was an intruder. As you may have guessed, no one was there and there was no sign of entry into the house. This next story comes from Rebecca, located in Georgia. This takes place at my grandmother's house. My sister and I used to share a room when we were kids, and I sleep alone in it now. My sister sleeps in the room next to me. The reason my sister stopped sleeping in the room I now sleep in is because on multiple occasions she and her friends have heard a little girl, or girls, laughing and or playing. I personally have not heard anything, but I have seen a female standing in the corner of my room. I couldn't see her face, only her white dress. This next story comes from Adele, located in Australia. When I was young, about 10, I'm 20 now, I used to live in an old house in New South Wales. The house used to be, I believe, a midwifery house, hospital type place. Inside the house was always freezing cold. Even in summer it was cold. There were small shelves running almost at the top to the top of the wall. Only my dad could reach without using a chair. My stepmom collects Buddha statues, and she used to place them all along the small shelves. Almost every morning the statues would be turned to face the wall when they were placed facing outward. My dad would always turn them back around the right way, but in the morning they would all be facing the wall again. I would feel as if people were watching or were there, but I'd turn around and there wouldn't be anyone. It was just an unsettling house to be in for the most part. This next story comes from Helena, located in the UK. I was on a holiday in Devon, UK, staying in a remote cottage in the countryside. It was about 2 a.m. and my dog wanted to go outside, so I got the lead and took him outside in the pitch black to this big open field. I planned on staying close to the house as I didn't want to somehow get lost, but all of a sudden I heard faint muffled voices seemingly coming from the distance. I thought nothing of it, and maybe it was just people going for a late night walk, but as I turned around to go back to the house, I heard footsteps not too far behind me, stepping on the grass, which appeared to get closer when I walked faster. I freaked out and picked up my dog and ran to the house as fast as possible. When I got back to the house, I shone a torchlight out into the field, and there was nobody there. This next story comes from Jordan, located in England. Here's a video of me on my YouTube 5 months ago talking and rambling about my hair and minding my own business. I was alone, guaranteed, and in the video, which I pointed out very clearly in the video, there was a lady yelling downstairs, followed by a child yelling something like, "Don't do that." I had to hide the fact I was shitting myself in the video. After I finished shooting this video, I immediately ran downstairs to check, and no one was to be found. Alright, so I'm gonna get closer to you guys. Let's make sure my volume's up on this. I could probably actually hook it up to speakers. I have speakers here. Oh, dude, I totally remember this girl.
The redness of my hair.
Okay.
Which I did myself. Oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying... Shut up! I was saying that I have recolored my hair and done my roots, and it looks tons more brighter than it was before. And I done this myself, which I was pretty proud of. But let me tell you, it is a hair, which I did myself. Oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying...
Okay, now let's listen to it. Here we go.
I was saying... Shut up! I was saying that I have recolored my hair and done my roots and...
I don't know, what do you guys think? That sounded kind of creepy. This next story comes from Paige, located in Lebanon, Missouri. I was 18, living with my parents, and I had been messing with tarot cards, which I knew better. It brought a lot of activity into my upstairs bedroom at night. Bathroom door that's in my bedroom swinging open at night and then closing. Footsteps and dark figures that moved around at night. My brother-in-law also stayed in my room when I was gone one night and saw a dark figure and jumped up screaming because of it. He's a grown adult. I had gotten to the point where I knew exactly what I had done and was ashamed, so I never mentioned it to my parents, and I was messing with those cards. I was going through a really dark time in my life. The night I was on my way to burn the cards at a friend's house because the activity gotten out of control, I got a phone call from my mom. She said my grandmother had a dream that I was messing with something that I shouldn't be messing with. My mother also said just then that my brother and dad were watching TV in the living room at my parents' house. My bedroom was upstairs, and when you come out of my room, you can look down and see the downstairs, kind of like a balcony type. And they both stood up in shock and looked upstairs because they both heard what was saying in a deep, drawn-out voice, Ella, which is my daughter's name, almost like it was a threat or something. They went upstairs thinking that maybe I had left something on that would be making this noise. When they got upstairs, there was nothing on. I got off the phone with my mother and didn't tell her about the tarot card use until a couple months later. I burned the cards that night, and that night a lot of other bad things happened to me, which is too long to tell. So the cards were burnt, and my mother eventually blessed the home, and to this day it's a peaceful place. Although when I go there to stay the night now, I still sleep downstairs with my kids. This last story comes from Hallie, located in Oregon. The experience happened about 3 or 4 years ago when I lived in my previous house. I was around 14 years old. My mother, younger sister, and I were all asleep in her room. I woke up feeling thirsty. Normally, I would have woken up my sister because of my fear of the dark, but this night I didn't. I walked into the kitchen, got water, and proceeded to head back to bed. But for some reason, I decided to stop when I was by my dog's crate. I looked down the hallway across from my mom's room, which led to my room. At that moment, I heard the classic scary movie little girl laugh. To me, it sounded like there were 2 little girls. I set down my glass of water and ran into my mom's room. I didn't want to wake them up, so I closed my eyes and went to bed. I didn't tell anyone what happened because I didn't know how they would take it. Later that day, my father came back home after a week up in Washington. The next morning, I was the second one in the family to wake up, my father being the first. He asked me what my younger sister and I were doing up around 3 a.m. I told him that her and I were both asleep and asked why he thought we were up. He told me he saw 2 young girls around mine and my sister's age. Okay. He told me that he saw 2 young girls around mine and my sister's ages standing in his doorway from the reflection of his TV. When he sat up to see why we were up, there was no one in the doorway, but there was still the little girl's reflection in the TV. He rubbed his eyes, and when he opened them again, the little girls were gone. So that's it for now. Stay tuned for the next time I share you guys' paranormal ghost story submissions. Please check the description below this video to see whether I am still accepting submissions or not, because this video could be uploaded in the future and I could very well be accepting submissions. But periodically, if I get a little overwhelmed, my inbox is overflowing, I kind of don't accept submissions for a short amount of time so I can catch up. So just read the description down below to see if you can submit yet or not. And if you somehow miraculously submit a story anyway by some miracle, I don't know if you're just magical, but if you do submit a story, I probably won't get to it until I've finished reading older ones. So please be patient. Thank you guys for being patient. I know it's been a while since I've told the last one, but thank you so much. Thumbs this up if you like it. Comment down below and let me know your thoughts on these stories, and stay tuned for the next one. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!